Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the Grow program. I've been doing some research. I know when I was in school, I talk about when I was in school, in high school. I have my transcripts, so I can back up what I'm saying. I was not taught Black history in high school. I was taught American history and social studies, biology. You know, we were the first free Africans in the 60s. So it wasn't no history for us besides slavery. And then we learned about roots, in high school. I thought roots was an isolated incident. Come to find out, no, it was greater magnitude than that. And I'm researching a lot of different things, different topics to talk about because, it's stuff that I was going to touch on anyway, but I didn't realize that I need to talk about Alex Haley. I need to talk about his contributions and how he gave and how the Lord saw fit, that he was able to tell his story and we were able to know some things because we wouldn't have known. I talked to people and everybody I talked to, they was angry about roots. They was upset that had happened to us as a people, and we still are upset. We still are under oppression, but we getting ready to come up out of oppression. What you got to do, you got to realize that it's been 400 years. 400 years. And, as I'm reading the 13th Amendment, I still can't get over that. It took them a whole year to ratify it, first of all. They were fighting back and forth, I guess, to make it known that it's okay. A whole year. It started in January, then it was ratified at the end of the year. Something else, By that time, Lincoln was gone, and I guess they decided to go ahead and do it. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. That's really crazy. It took them a whole year to decide, yeah, this is the right thing. We're going to go ahead and free these slaves. This is right. But that, we're still under the oppression of this country because in the 13th Amendment, it says that we are not to be enslaved unless we are duly convicted. Now, there goes something else. Because we ain't never been duly convicted. Even back then, when the slaves were free and convicted of doing something, they didn't have no trial and jury. Most time they went to the jail and took them out of jail and hung them. It wasn't no trial. It wasn't none of that. You just convicted. You guilty. You charged. You guilty. Just like now. When you hear about somebody's name in the news, that's a charge. But by the time they done told the story and got it all out, they convicted. That's it. It's over with. You through. We done heard this side. Forget your side. He still got to go to trial. He still got to go and face the jury of his peers, which ain't his peers. I'm telling you, it's something. This country is got to do a whole revamp. It really does. Because this country does not represent its people at all. It targets its people. I've never seen, I don't know really what it's like in the other countries because I'm still, reeling off of this one over here to even try to figure out what's going on anywhere else. I'm still reeling off the fact that this country targets its people. It targets its people. This country send drugs in, then you arrest them for using them and selling them, and then this country set you up for crimes and then convict you and throw the book at you. I'm going to tell you something. That federal justice system ain't nothing to play with, honey. You would think you're going to go in there and fight that. You ain't fighting nothing. Walmart can hang it up. Walmart getting ready to go out of business. Walmart is through. You better go take your pictures, get inside, all that, because once the government set their sights on you, it's over with. You through. The problem is, the opioid crisis. See, it's a problem now because, it's starting to affect some other races. Some other races are being affected and getting addicted, and we can't have that. It was okay when the crack was coming in the community. That was fine. We had crack addicted babies. The community was going down. They watched it as it went down. You go look now, it's dilapidated buildings, burn up buildings, strip clubs, and churches. That's all you gonna find. Everybody trying to get up off everybody. The church even trying to get up. The church getting out for to get money. The church is a business. Yeah, you gonna go in there and you can't pay. You ain't got to pay no taxes. And then on top of that, Everybody in there gonna give you 10% of their income? Is you kidding? That's a good business. We don't need no more liquor stores and we don't need no more churches. Turn those churches into some community centers for these kids. For these kids to have something to look forward to and go to. They don't have nothing and the government don't care if they don't have nothing. It's up to us as a people. We need to wise up together. We need to start doing some things. I'm telling you something. I'm coming to Jamestown, Virginia. I don't care what. I would be in Jamestown, Virginia. I'm coming to speak. I'm going to be there. I'm coming to speak because I got to see that. See, just like I had to go to Merrimack Caverns and at least experience part of the Underground Railroad. Just like I had to go to Memphis and see where Dr. King got shot at and walk through that hotel and go all up in there. The Lord is taking me different places. I have to go different things. I done been in prison. So, I know what it's like to be enslaved in this country. I know what it's like to experience all forms of oppression in this country. I done dealt with depression. I tried to take my life. That didn't work. I done everything. I joined the military. That didn't work because this ain't none of my country. I wanted to serve my country just like any other soldier that volunteered. But it didn't work because this ain't none of my country. I don't belong here. My ancestors were kidnapped and brought over here, to be slaves. I never find out I know what I know from the ancestors who have given me, but to really sit down and piece together like they do with ancestry. The only ancestry we got is some photo albums and grandma and grandpa and some aunties. That's it. That's your ancestry. Y'all sit down there and ask some questions. Right? Get your notebook, start writing some stuff down. That's the only ancestry you gonna find out because see, we were slaves over here. We were slaves in this country and not only that, we were kidnapped and crisscrossed all over this country. That's why when Africans meet one another, we ask, who you know? Do you know so-and-so? Just to make sure we ain't related. That kind of stuff, that it's real. That's what we do. That's how we when we meet people, that's how we ask who you know. That's how the conversation always start off like that. And once we cool there, then we can proceed on. We can go on and finish talking. I'm going to tell you something. This country has got us up under so much oppression. How we oppress one another, it's then trickled down to us in the community. Even how we do our mama and daddy, even how we do our brother and sister, even how we do our kids, even how we will go and do people at the job. It affects us. You can't help it. The oppression, either you going to take it out on you or you're going to take it out on somebody else. And that's what the GROW program is. And it is beautiful. Thank God. Praise you, God and ancestors. Greatness reached over our oppression through wisdom. Tell you something. If I can get through it and get over it, you can get over it. All of us can get over. It's people that's growing right now. That people tell me I'm growing, and I praise God for that. It just give me a warm feeling right now as I speak on it. Thinking about people growing, thinking about people coming up out of this oppression. Nah, we ain't finna go take to the streets. Time out for that. We ain't finna go out there and be in there in the midst of evil. Because see, while we out there trying to be peaceful, you got folks down there who come just for evil, who come to kill, steal, and destroy. And that is evil. So the good, no, we don't need to be down there in the midst of that. We need to be where we are, growing. Be safe, be woke, and be blessed. I love you. God bless you.